Reda, welcome at AI for Health here in Station F. Next year it's the Grand Palais. And we welcome you also. So Reda, you're the president of Pfizer France. So we all know Pfizer since the COVID vaccine, but less about AI. So what is your vision of AI? What do you see?
So first of all, good morning, Damien. Good morning to everyone. Listen, we've heard it from previous speakers. When we talk about AI, it's really a game changer when it comes to the pharma industry. In fact, you mentioned COVID. So it was a transformative tool for us when it comes to COVID. When you look at drug development, you go throughout the life cycle. It starts with the preclinical drug discovery. It moves on then later on to the clinical development, the 3 phases, phase 1, 2, 3. Then you go into manufacturing, patient access, etc. And the impact on all these phases with AI can be at 2 levels. So the first level is mainly, I would say, operational in the day-to-day tasks. So day-to-day tasks can see, for example, preparing a regulatory dossier. This takes a lot of time. It's really tedious, and it can accelerate it. It can work on safety reports, for example, medical information, etc. And at the end of the cycle, manufacturing-wise, I would say that, we talk a lot about carbon print. It can have an impact on efficiency when it comes to carbon print, etc., improving yields, reducing development cycles. Now, there's another level which is very exciting. It's the transformative portion. So transformative portion, specifically when you want to identify disease targets in the drug discovery and also at the level of clinical development.
And so, if we go deeper in examples of the use of AI use case you have in Pfizer, what is the most promising? What can you tell us about that, about AI use case?
So, Damien, if you want to, I can give you some examples from Pfizer. So, when you speak about AI, especially machine learning, this has started like a decade ago. So there is a massive data set that exists with decades of clinical data, millions of data points. As I mentioned before from my colleagues in the previous sessions, data is the fuel of AI. So just to give you some statistics, when you go into clinical development, it's very risky in a way because the success rates it can be single digits, somewhere between 7 and 10%. Well, thanks to AI, when we look at our pipeline, it improved. We're approaching the 20% in the clinical stage success rates. So that's a very important point, and it's just the beginning of AI. We're at the beginning of the journey, so this should also accelerate going forward. Now, if you wanted me to give you specific examples from COVID, one in the preclinical and the other one in clinical. So within the preclinical, there is an antiviral that was developed. It's called Paxlovid, and this antiviral, basically, we managed to reduce in the preclinical stage, in the drug discovery stage, reduce the period of development. We went somewhere from 4 years to 4 months. And the way it happened is basically there is a screening of dozens of millions of molecules called ilico screening. And then we synthesize millions of molecules that our scientists test in the laboratory. Now, with AI, what we managed to do is to skip all these stages and to go directly to drug design, molecule design. So we narrowed the number of compounds that should be tested in preclinical from 3 million to 600. And it doesn't stop there. Thanks to AI, we have managed in the preclinical stage, drug discovery stage, to identify an oral compound instead of IV. So an oral compound, you can take it at home. And during the pandemic, it was very important not to go to the hospital because of the pressure on the hospital. So this is in the preclinical stage, drug discovery. Now, moving to the clinical stage, there's another example we're very proud of, which is the vaccine against COVID, and it's called Paxlovid, and Comirnaty. And for this vaccine, we managed to reduce timings of clinical development, I would say, by more than 90%. More than 90%, that's huge. So with AI, predictive models were being created with regards to the prevalence of COVID going forward during the pandemic. We had to identify where COVID would be moving from one geographical area to the other, and then target these centers within these regions. So we managed in a matter of 4 months to, in six countries, to basically launch, I would say, in 150 hospitals, to have 46,000 participants. This is huge. This is something you do in years, and thanks to AI, we managed to reduce it all the way down to 4 months.
So very great examples, and what is interesting, it's you can have AI in preclinical, clinical, in all the phases you mentioned, there is AI. Do you want to come back on the, for the near future, on the reducing of the cost of the clinical development, maybe? What, AI can help in that?
AI can, I think, honestly, I think AI will have an important role when it comes to you know, R&D in general, the R side, which is the preclinical, and the development side. You know, we've been talking a lot in pharma, and I heard it from my previous colleagues about the cost of development. So when we talk about cost of development, we used to say, you know, on average, it's $1 billion to develop a product for patients, you know, especially unmet medical needs, etc. It takes $1 billion. Now, today we're approaching not 1, 2, 3, we're approaching 4. So if you take an internal medicine, for example, you need to have big cohorts of patients. So this is where AI can have a role at all the stages. So take, for example, the, you know, when you start clinical development, for example, you want to reduce timing and increase, I would say, your chances of success. So protocol design. Okay, protocol design, currently with generative AI, you can go quite quickly. You can have a first draft with the objective of the study, with the patient criteria, with the design of the clinical trial, and this thanks to AI. I think AI, with the input from scientists, you can do it very quickly. That's one stage. The other thing is, you know, when you have dossiers that you present to regulatory authorities, can be the FDA, EMA, or PMDA in Japan. When you produce these huge registration files, you get many questions. You get a lot of questions about the clinical trials, and you have to sift through all this historical data. And thanks to AI, this is something they can do quickly. And it's for the benefit of patients, you know, if you reduce timings. A third, you know, going forward, for example, is cleaning the data. Now, that's a big one. Once you do a trial, what happens is you have millions of data points if you're going to phase 3 that have been entered in the trial. There might be some inconsistencies. We call it coding errors. So our data scientists have to go step by step and, you know, sift through the data. Thanks to AI, this is something can you do very quickly. I can go on and on. I mean, consent forms, this is something where with AI, translation AI, specifically in phase 3 studies, you go in with translational AI, and each country has, I would say, its own regulation when it comes to how to explain to patients the clinical study they are willing to participate in. So thanks to AI, looking at historical data, you can get it right very quickly. So these are just some examples that we can reduce also cost.
Yeah, clearly AI is a game changer, and it's very good news. Do you think that partnerships is important and key when we speak about AI?
So, Damien, partnerships are survival. If you want to survive in AI, it's through collaborations and partnerships. The reason is no one currently has, I would say, the monopoly on AI. There are many angles to AI. So this is why you need to collaborate. The way we do it is, of course, we're trying to create a lot of, I would say, a lot of strength within AI in the company, specialization, etc., by hiring experts. But through collaboration. So collaborations can happen on different levels. So there are collaboration, cross-industry collaborations, or collaboration with a number of companies that are specialized in AI. But an interesting one is what I would call collaboration between public and private. So there's a big one. There's a European one that I like a lot. It's called IMI Big Picture. So basically, you have the industry coming in together with academic centers, research centers, etc. And they're working on creating this huge data set, this huge database with 3 million samples across a number of diseases. And then this is fantastic because once you have this database, you can run AI at different angles and get a lot of insight on these diseases. So this is another interesting example. One example that we are currently working on in PFIZER in France, it's called the PHHF, PFIZER Healthcare Hub France. So we're collaborating with 40 startups and biotechs. And the idea behind it is to connect them to expertise, not just in France, but also internationally, a lot of expertise internationally, and to our networks. And a lot of these companies are powered by AI. So what we're hoping is, by working with them, putting them in contact with a lot of expertise, they can deliver their assets and I would say, the new products for patients.
Clearly, then partnership is key. To conclude this interview, Reda, what would you say as a final thought? What is important for you?
So that's an interesting one. Final thoughts. Let me tell you. Today, we are living in a world where you have two big revolutions that converge, that intersect. One revolution is with platforms. We call it biotherapies, platforms, new mechanism of actions, etc. It's very disruptive in terms of innovation, okay? And it's very high risk, okay? And at the same time, you've got in parallel AI, which is another revolution. And with these both revolutions converging together, what happens is you create a renaissance. It's actually a renaissance when it comes to, I would say, to innovation in general and to science. So life sciences depend on these two axes. Now, what's really important is when you look at France, we have a fantastic, I would say, environment for clinical development. However, I don't want to say we missed the train, but when you look at the number of assets that were presented to EMA, okay, France has a very small share. I mean, we're not even at 8% of the assets that are being registered through EMA. Europe is lagging behind the US. Only 20% of innovation currently emanates from Europe compared to the US. US has the lion's share. So if I move to the other axis, which is AI, I think we have an opportunity to become the leaders and to lead in this space. Now, France alone cannot make it because you need scalability. When it comes to AI, you need scalability. And this is why Europe would be important. Across Europe, what you need is, a common regulatory framework. You need more fluidity because there are many obstacles. You have different languages, different cultures, etc., and very focused investment. And I think if we do that, and I hope that, I would say that the next BioNTech in AI might be present in France or present among us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reda.
Thank you.